Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Fools Podcast. My name's Jesse. This is Eliseo and Brandon. How you guys doing today?
I'm good. I am 2-0, so I'm good.
I'm doing all right.
He's not 2-0.
Week 2 in the books. Football. It was a crazy week. There were some crazy things that happened.
If you thought week 1 was a horrible car crash that you can't look away from, then week 2 is the car that wasn't paying attention that ran into all that had already happened. That's how I feel about so far this season.
Yeah, it was almost an overcorrection for some teams, for some players. There was a lot of stuff going on. Some guys balled out again. Some guys didn't ball out again.
I think
now
mostly
really
it wasn't that. It was so the guys that went off in week 1 were completely silent in week 2, and the ones that you were expecting to go off in week 1 and didn't went off in week 2. So it was just total opposite. And in a lot of cases.
Except for the ones that didn't go off in week 1 or week 2. And now you're like, oh, my goodness.
Spoiler alert, we'll get to them later. Yeah, and full disclosure, I was on a flight home from out of the country this weekend. But being the rabid fan that I am, I paid for the high-speed Wi-Fi on the plane. Had my laptop. I had Red Zone streaming. I had the people behind me trying to look over my shoulder to watch games. So even though I was out of the country during Sunday, I made sure to watch the games so I could be prepared for this podcast.
You got to do what you got to do to win those fantasy football matchups.
Or lose.
Or not.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about injuries.
Oh, son of a... That's going to leave a mark.
And, of course, the one.
I feel like we should say some words. I don't know, kind words.
Poor ankle. Unfortunate. He was on his way to stardom.
Iceberg.
Trey Lance. No, we hope the surgery goes well and he's good, but he is out for the season. Broken ankle.
It sucks for him because this was supposed to be his year. It's he's going to show us what he's got. And then week 1, he had the, monsoon to play through. And then this week he gets hurt and end of the season for him. That sucks.
So, yeah, quick question. So he hasn't played football really at all in the last 3 years. So his 2020 year in college was kind of the COVID year. His team literally didn't play. Last year, obviously, in San Francisco, he kind of sat the bench, played very sparingly. He's going to miss this entire year. Is there a period of time where if you don't do something, you just aren't good at it anymore? Are we getting there with Trey Lance?
I mean, how long was it for Sam Bradford?
Sam Bradford. Well, I haven't heard that.
Every time he was never good, but every time around the beginning of fantasy football, everybody was like, "This is Sam Bradford," and everybody was all talking about him like he was going to be the best thing. And he didn't do good his first year because he tore his ACL at the beginning of the season. He comes back, Sam Bradford, this is the year, and then he tore the other ACL, and then he was out, and then after that he came back and he just wasn't good. So it's similar situation where it's you build up a guy, and then nothing ever happens.
You know what's crazy is they wanted to trade Jimmy G, or they thought about it. And I think they'd be trading back for him right now. It's funny because
he wouldn't be available to trade back.
Well, they probably figured that someone's going to get hurt during the season and they can trade him. But, I mean, he's getting a ton more money, I think, now. And you know what? I think the offense is going to be better with Jimmy G.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's actually better for the fantasy guys. You saw what Debo did last year, the Elijah Mitchell. They have a more the upside of Lance is bigger than Garoppolo, right? But there's just such a wide variance of outcomes, and you know what you're getting out of Jimmy G. He's going to be solid. He's taking his team to the Super Bowl. I mean, and they were in the NFC Championship game last year. He's not a bad backup, and I think he's going to solidify the fantasy playmakers there.
And he's motivated because it's a contract year, so he's going to go and ball out
and go wherever he wants, or stay in San Francisco.
I don't think he's going to stay.
Justin Herbert, fractured rib cartilage. Will probably play. He came back into the game, so he'll probably play.
Unless the doctor has anything to say about it. That guy could just be like, let me just give you this shot real quick. And then there goes your career.
That was how, Herbert got the job in the first place, right?
It was the same guy.
Tyrod Taylor, the team doctor,
who's
now being sued by Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. So, I wouldn't go anywhere near the team doctor. But, Herbert, I think, showed how tough he was last week coming into the game against the Chiefs. Really in a meaningless drive. I don't think they had a chance to win the game there. And I don't think he's going to miss any time. I mean, maybe a week, but I think he's going to play through it.
I think if I was the team, I would bench him this week just because they got a weaker opponent. Who are they playing? They're
I
playing
think they put the Jaguars.
somebody easy who they should be able to handle even without him. So I figured if he's your young quarterback, why risk it? If you know you
For
can
the
handle this
biscuit.
team, just handle business without him. Just let him sit out for a week. I think he'll be all right. Or have him.
Who's the backup?
Well, I was gonna say have him ready. All right, you're not gonna start. We'll see how the game is going, and if it's taking an ugly turn, then ready to get in. But
I mean, it's tough to bench your starting quarterback, especially when you are a possible playoff bound team.
But it's week 3.
I understand, and it's probably a good idea, but I doubt that's going to happen.
And here's the thing. I don't know that, again, he has fractured rib cartilage, whatever that means. I'm no doctor, but I don't know. Is that something that gets significantly better the following week? Is that going to heal in 1 week and all of a sudden he's fine?
It might
there's
just
risk
be,
either way.
Yeah, it is, but it might just be pain management stuff. If he's not going to have his best game because he's
But
hurting.
he has the doctor that can shoot him with stuff.
I feel ribs are I feel I worry for his breathing. Maybe when they go play in Denver or something in altitude, maybe then it becomes an issue. I don't know. I feel he's a football player. He's tough. He'll wear some extra padding.
He was tough. I was seeing him, and you could tell that he was in pain, but he was still making the throws. So
Jerry Jeudy, also ribs, maybe a week. We really don't know much on that unless something came out today, which I didn't see.
Do you know when he went out in the game? Because he didn't really do a lot. So I don't know when he...
I don't know.
It was pretty early. I think it was in the first half for sure. But yeah, again, I think, if he misses any time, it should be only about a week. But that was a big hit for the Broncos offense. They're obviously trying to get right with Russell Wilson. They haven't in either of the first 2 weeks, and he's a major weapon for them. So we're
still waiting for the ride.
Yeah, we have not ridden the ride yet. We're not quite tall enough. I don't think Russ meets the height requirement.
Let's ride.
I think the whole... What did he say? Who's that shout out to? What does Russ say in that?
He says, "Let's ride, Broncos country."
Broncos
let's
country.
Ride.
I
Let's
think
ride.
the entire country is waiting.
Yeah.
We got the horses ready, man. When are you going to show up?
They're still tied to the post. James Conner, ankle. This one we also don't know very much about. He could play, he could not play, but if it's an ankle injury, it depends on how bad it is, what grade it is, all that.
Yeah, he got injured in the game and didn't come back in. He was still kind of suited up on the sidelines. They panned over him a couple times, but again, never came back in. You never really know. He's had a history of injury problems when he was in Pittsburgh, so kind of one of those guys you label as injury prone. So I'm not surprised that he's hurt, but again, he's pretty tough. We'll see what happens.
They said it wasn't serious, so that's
Right.
good.
Absolutely.
But I mean, if he's one of your starting running backs, you're definitely worried this week. Dalton Schultz.
Another one of your, awesome Cowboy top 5 team goes down, Jesse. How do you feel?
I mean, he was my starting tight end, so I'm definitely going to be looking for someone there.
Play that music again, man.
Probably out for a few weeks. But
now talk about him.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, talk about him now. Talk about him now.
He's wasn't that great anyway, and that Cowboys team is just
they won
imploding. I know. That's the crazy part is that is they won a good team, and I think they have like I've been saying, they have an easy schedule, and this is not one of their easy games. So
Are we sure Cincinnati's good? Are we sure?
We are not
pretty sure they're not good, actually.
They lost to Pittsburgh.
They
lost to the
spent so much
Patriots.
money.
Their line is supposed to be better.
They
And
supposedly solidified the line.
I was watching and I was like, you know what? Joe Burrow's going to get hurt again because he was
He's been sacked 11 times in 2 games or something crazy.
Yeah, it's not
like
good.
that.
He's going to end up getting hurt if they don't do something real fast.
Well, they paid all the money to all the people that are supposedly protecting him. Where are we at? Damian Harris knee.
Oh, yeah, I saw him coming up limping, and I'm like, another guy who you think, oh, of course, because he's injury prone too. So he comes up, and you're like, oh, I wonder how bad this one's going to be. But I looked it up afterwards, and it didn't really say anything major.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the injuries this week have, it's very vague.
Maybe he just got a Charlie
timelines,
horse.
Very vague on what's going on. Last 2, Hunter Renfrow, concussion protocol.
Is that why he dropped the ball?
Yeah, do you guys
Is that
want
why he
to
fumbled?
play the music again for you guys?
Oh,
to
yeah, you
talk
should play the
about
music again.
Raiders,
He
the Raiders
had
loss?
2 fumbles
Back
in
to
a
back,
row.
right? Yeah, back to back. And the first one,
I
was,
think
Was he concussed on the first hit?
I think
Yeah.
so. I actually think that there was something up with him.
I got to go
before all
back
that
and
happened,
watch,
so.
because I wasn't watching the game live, so I saw it afterwards, and now I'm curious about that. So I got to go watch and see how that first hit was, because I saw the second hit, and I was like, that sucks.
And Devin Duvernay, also concussion protocol. He had a pretty good game.
He's had two pretty good games.
He ran the opening
Yeah.
kickoff back
Yeah.
for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
for a touchdown, yeah.
And he had
And then-
2 receiving touchdowns in
Yes,
week 1.
so he no. He had the return and a receiving touchdown in week 1, and then this week he had
Yeah,
a
that
touchdown.
Baltimore-Miami
Are you
game.
sure?
Oof.
Yeah, the return was this week. He had 2 last week.
Oh, it was this week? Are you
Yeah.
sure?
He returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, 100%.
I thought it was week 1.
No.
Oh. Are you sure? No, it was week 1.
No, it wasn't. It was 100%.
The
this
fantasy
game.
football fools, we know it all here. That Baltimore-Miami game, man, that was some point city right there. That was a good game. That was a good game.
Okay. Brandon
So,
just proved me wrong.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course he did. What else is new around
What
here?
are you talking about? Baltimore who?
The
Baltimore-Miami.
fans know who to believe when I give information.
I mean, probably the guy who's 2-0, but I guess this time I was wrong.
You know who else is 2-0? Yours truly. Okay,
You
so
got lucky,
calm
though.
down.
You got lucky.
Yeah, I always get lucky. The
Yeah.
3-time champion of our league here, always getting lucky. You know.
You get so lucky.
Oh
That's
my
the problem.
goodness. All right, let's move on. These are not so much injured. I mean, they're injured possibly, but they didn't play. J.K. Dobbins, hopefully he's returning soon, maybe this week.
I don't think so. He's the one saying he's going to return, but his coaches are saying, you're not ready yet, and it's kind of like he's fighting them to get back, kind of a deal.
So he was the one, before the season, someone
Yeah.
said, hey, I don't think he's going to play. And he said, who are you? Like, you're a
he
fake
went all the way-
doctor.
yeah.
And went crazy on him. And then here he is, hasn't played in the first 2 weeks. So I guess we know who was right after that one. So,
The fake
he's
doctor.
being called week to week. So we'll see.
George Kittle, groin. Oh, if you drafted Kittle, man, you've had a rough go so far.
Spoiler alert, these next 4 guys are all on my team. So, George Kittle, he practiced on Friday of last week. They still held him out. So I think he's going to be good to go this week. Again, he's another guy that I think will benefit with Jimmy G now in there.
Yeah.
So, again, when he's in there, he's going to be good. You just never know when he's in there, but he's hopefully back week 3.
Chris Godwin, hamstring.
That's another guy who's always hurt.
Another guy who gets hurt a lot.
And
He was
Mike
coming
Evans
off
is
the-
now suspended for a game.
Yeah, Godwin's coming off the ACL and pulled his hamstring in week 1. So I'd expect him to miss a couple more weeks before he's deemed fully healthy. I think they wait until he was almost ready and they brought him back. I think they wait till he's fully healthy.
Keenan Allen, hamstring.
Again, another guy on my team. They had the Thursday night game, so he had the hamstring the previous Sunday, so only 3-4 days to get back. Now he kind of has that extended break, so I would be surprised if we don't see him in week 3.
Yeah, I think he'll suit up. Alvin Kamara, ribs yet again.
Yep, yet again on my team. So, he sat out again this week. They said he could have played if it was a playoff game. They're just being cautious again early in the year, which I think is smart. I think you want to you'd rather get 14 games out of these guys than lose them now for the rest of the season. So I think just kind of wait until these guys are healthy is a good objective. But, again, I think he plays week 3 also.
Julio Jones, knee.
Yeah, this one was kind of a surprise, I think. He came late in the week. And again, I think we had talked about this in an earlier episode of they signed Julio Jones. What does that mean? It's I think they just want to get a full season. If you have Godwin and Jones, that's one good receiver, and you're hoping that one is healthy throughout the year. And here we are, both of them kind of missing the game.
Also, didn't you pick him up on the waiver?
We'll talk about that later, yeah.
I want to talk about it now.
Oh, the waiver. I picked him up on the waiver. Yeah, I picked him. He was on my bench. I didn't play him. But, I mean, Godwin is still hurt, and I figured, hey, why not a pickup? And now, look at Mike Evans is out of game,
we
so
knew
now
Evans
it's great.
would throw
Yeah.
punches at
So-
Marcus Lattimore. So, he could have been the guy in the second
Yeah, that
half.
was a fun game.
Gabe Davis, non-contact injury.
Yeah, he got hurt in practice, I think, on Saturday. They had the Monday night game. So he was a late addition to the report. So never a good sign when your guy gets added onto the injury
For
report.
non-contact, too.
on
And it
a
sucks because it was the
Saturday.
Monday night game.
Yeah,
So,
so
I'm pretty sure a lot of people got screwed over by this one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You got to kind of, and again, he's a guy if he plays, you're going to play him. So you really want to kind of wait, but maybe the guys you had to settle for playing aren't quite as good. So we'll see kind of what that looks like for him. Buffalo didn't miss him, that's for sure.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Time for our fantasy tops. They did pretty good.
Better than the bottoms.
Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, 36 for 50, 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. And 3 rushes for 1 yard for Tua.
Is he turning into the Fitzpatrick? You know, where it's like he's just gonna like launch stuff up there because his receivers are good. And
yeah,
then,
he's got Waddle and Hill. I mean, he got 53 points in fantasy.
Everybody's
our
like hyping him up a lot. Is this sustainable? Obviously, not 6 touchdowns and not 4 in the fourth quarter. But how realistic is this? Like,
I think you've seen his ceiling, and it could happen. I don't think it's going to do this every week, but I think there's potential there. And yeah, why not try to win your league?
Who have they played against?
So that's what I was gonna say. This week they played Buffalo. So here's a big test.
This is the real test.
They played New England. They played Baltimore. Baltimore was missing, I think, their top 3 corners. So they were able to exploit that. But yeah, they played Buffalo. That's a great test. And really kind of a prove-it game for Tua, right? He's coming off his best game of his career, one of the best games all time in the NFL history with those numbers. So I think this is a big week to kind of see if he's for real. But those weapons are legit. They are.
Lamar right behind him, 29. The thing is, Tua had 50 attempts. Lamar had 29. So that tells you the difference there. I mean, if he's going to chuck it up that much, then yeah, I mean, he's going to, with those receivers that he has, he's going to do something. Lamar, 21 out of 29, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 9 rushes for 119 yards and another touchdown there. I mean, he did it through the air, through the ground. What more do you want? Lamar is a beast.
He's also on a contract year, right? He declined the extension, or he declined...
Yeah, they offered him an extension. He turned it down, and the weird thing about it, he's actually representing himself. He doesn't have an agent. He's kind of figuring things out. Now they've tabled it to play the season, and he'll come back next year, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, he does not have an agent. He's representing himself.
Well, he represented himself very well this week.
Yeah, and if he keeps doing that, he's going to get paid.
Absolutely.
Josh Allen, 26 for 38, 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only 1 rush for 10 yards.
Yeah, it didn't matter. He's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Down a big receiver, still produced.
He was going really early in fantasy drafts, and a lot of people were like, oh, just wait on the quarterback. Just wait. And I usually do that, and this year I didn't. I was like, I'm going to go get me a Josh Allen, and I am so glad that I did.
Yeah,
he's a fun guy to you have on your roster, and you just feel good every week having him.
And even watching him play, he just plays like he's a kid. Like, I'm just having a good time, and he's just going out there doing his thing, but he's so good.
So
you know?
good.
So, I mean, those guys, I mean, maybe not Tua, but Lamar and Josh, you definitely drafted early. This guy, you probably didn't draft early.
He's probably still out there.
Joe Flacco, 26 for 44, 307 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think we're in like 2012 again. He's leading the Ravens to a Super Bowl. Like, who is this guy?
I hope this guy's having fun also, just being like, haha, see, I can still do it, because this isn't going to last. This can't last.
Well, it's not going to last. I think they have Zach Wilson is hurt. He's coming back week 5. So that'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with that.
But is he coming back week 5 if he keeps
doing this?
Supposedly,
who knows? Yeah, that was a great comeback by Flacco. But yeah, that was insane.
But again, I think their matchup this week is a lot tougher also. So I don't think it's going to go well for them. It's going to be like, oh, yeah, we're all pumped up from last week, and then...
They play the Bengals this week, so who knows?
Oh, well, yeah, who knows now?
They could win again.
He may put up a 2
and they're at home, yeah. So real quick, before we move on, this is going to be my trivia question for the week. So I want to ask these guys, can you name the top 3 quarterbacks through 2 weeks in terms of passing yards? So which 3 quarterbacks have the most passing yards through 2 weeks?
Ooh, I'm going to say Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz on the list.
Tua
on the list.
And
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco, number 3.
Really?
Great
Wow.
job. Look at you guys. But
wow.
Tua, Carson Wentz, and Joe Flacco leading the league in passing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure one of those leads the league in touchdowns, too.
Probably Tua. 6 plus whatever he did week 1. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Nobody could have predicted this. That's why I was talking about the car crash earlier, because I'm like, week 2 came in and was like, oh, there's already an accident here, and I'm not going to hit my brakes. Oh, I'm part of it now.
And Tua just T-boned you.
Yeah, it was like, what just happened? This whole, it's just been a mess. Honestly, these 2 weeks have been a mess. I mean, fun to watch, but what the hell?
So the question is, do you run to get those guys if you can, or is this,
I mean, the only thing, if you're running to get those guys, is if you had Dak Prescott, if you had Trey Lance, if your quarterback's injured. But if you have guys that you drafted ahead of him, I think you're still riding them out again. It's only been 2 weeks. These guys have done it against some inferior competition, so I'm not a believer necessarily after 2 weeks.
What if you drafted Matt Ryan?
Well, then you were doomed to begin with.
But also adding to the tops, we talked about him, but he wasn't on the list. Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. He was I think the number 7 quarterback this week. He did a great job. It's just, I put the top 3 or 4.
I just wanted to add him
on there,
because
so.
he's like one of those surprising
Yeah,
guys.
he's been doing great 2 weeks in a row. So remember when you said you weren't on the Wentz train? Are you now?
No, he's played the Jaguars and the Lions.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah, absolutely not.
They play the Eagles this week. Good test. Back in Philadelphia. He's going to get booed like crazy, and he's going to have an awful game, I think.
Wide receiver Stephon Diggs, 12 for 14, 148 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I think Stephon Diggs is pissed at every single fantasy football player who drafted the top 3 wide receivers: Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. He said, "What about me? He's been the best receiver in the league. Devontae was probably the clear 4. And Diggs is like, I belong with those guys, and he's been unbelievable."
Yeah, and I mean he has Josh Allen, so that helps a lot as well. Tyreek Hill, 11 for 13, 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. 190 yards. Woo.
Yeah, it looked like vintage Tyreek in Kansas City. He was outstanding.
Now, I don't remember because I guess I wasn't paying too close of attention to when he was in Kansas City. In Kansas City, was he having to wait on the ball? Because he's fast, but I don't know if Mahomes, like if he had to like slow down and wait for a pass from Mahomes, because he's doing that a lot now. And he's still wide open because he's fast, but he's like having to wait for the ball. When they play better defenses and the coverage isn't blown completely like that, it might be a different case because like that turns into a lob basically.
Yeah, I don't think he was having to wait as much as he is now, but he still did sometimes. I mean, he's the fastest person in the NFL, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, he didn't have to wait. I mean, Mahomes is like, I don't know, like Walker Buehler, right? He's throwing like mid to high 90s, and then Tua's like Kershaw, right? Where he's like 90, 91, nibbling, throwing off speed pitches. Like, it's not even close. Mahomes' arm is unbelievable. Tua's still questionable. He's actually got the job done.
So again, it's going to be a good test this week.
Yeah,
this weekend.
against a real defense.
Yeah, so that's going to be exciting. Now that we're talking about it, I'm excited to watch that now, just for fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right behind Tyreek had 32 points in standard fantasy format. Jalen Waddle had 30 points, 11 for 19, 171 and 2. It's ridiculous. They're both on the same team, and they both were 2 of the top wide receivers of the week.
Yeah, over 170 yards, 2 touchdowns for both. I don't know how many times that's happened in history. It can't be very often.
I think this may be the first time.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it happens a couple more times this year.
They're great weapons. Yeah. They're fast. You get them the ball, they make people miss. They make big plays happen. I mean, they're just fun. And shout out to the coach, Mike McDaniel, has come over and just kind of really schemed up a pretty good offense for these guys. Just get the playmakers the ball.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God,
and
9 for 12, 116, 2 TDs, and just to top it off, 2 rushes for 68 yards. Why not?
I am bummed because he was on my list to draft. And
you didn't draft him.
Well, I was going to take him, but I felt like every time it was like, oh, this guy's the next guy I'm taking, I would get beat to it, And this was one of the cases. The other one was, it doesn't matter. But this one, I was like, okay, I'm taking him right now. And then Brandon over here, like, jumped right in front of me and was like, I'm going to take this guy.
Well, good thing I took him because the rest of my roster's hurt, so he's definitely been carrying me. But, yeah, no, he was awesome in this game. He's been awesome since, like, I don't know, week 12 or 13 of last year.
Yeah.
He tied, I think it was Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas with the most consecutive, like, 8-catch games or something. He's just been, unbelievable. Jared Goff's favorite target. He's hard to guard, and he kind of showed that here. He's versatile, too, with the rushes.
And the Lions are much improved this year.
That offense looks good.
Yeah, Goff is looking a little bit better, so that's good. Running back Aaron Jones, 15 for 132 and 1 touchdown, 3 catches, 38 yards, and another TD.
This guy wasn't on your list to draft, Eliseo? Usually I feel like he's the top of the board.
You picked A.J. Dillon instead. I remember you said he's too high.
He's too high. Well, no, not that he was too high. It's just like where I was in the draft, it didn't really make sense because I would have to reach for him like a lot. And so I was like, well, I can reach for him now, or I can take A.J. Dillon way later. And I mean, because last year the way Dillon was looking was pretty good. I feel like both of them were going to just have a really good year. So it didn't matter which one I took. But I guess some games it's going to go one way, another game it's going to go the other way. Because last week Aaron Jones was the quiet one and Dillon was the loud one. And this week it was the opposite. And I feel like that's just how it's going to be all season.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is Dillon still outcarried Jones 18-15. Aaron Jones had 3 catches. A.J. Dillon had 1. So Dylan actually had more touches. And I think Jones just did more with the touches, but they're each going to get about around 20 touches a game. And so, taking, Dylan 4, 5, 6 rounds later than Jones, I think you're getting the value there, certainly.
Nick Chubb, 17 for 87 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And he cost his team the game.
I was just going to say that third touchdown cost the team the game. He certainly could have went down and won the game, but we don't care about that. This is fantasy, right? He got fantasy points for someone, and I'm
maybe
sure they were thrilled.
Maybe he got you the win because of that touchdown.
Exactly. And let's be honest, like, he didn't lose them the game. Their defense, you're up 13 points with under 2 minutes to go. You got to win that game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, just talk to the Raiders. They know all about that. Tony Pollard, 9 for 43, 1 touchdown.
How's Zeke Elliott treating you, Jesse? Another one of your...
Zeke's okay. Zeke had 17 touches. He just didn't do much with them.
Yeah, because he's not good.
Well, I think Tony Pollard also had 4 catches through the air for 55 yards, and he's more of the pass catching back. I don't know. I think that it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a timeshare, and that's what you're going to get.
It is, but for me, it's just the eye test. Like, you just watch them both run, and you're like, Pollard could score every time he has the ball, and you're like, Zeke, like, maybe can get 8 to 10 yards. Like, he just looks slow, but yeah, they're gonna keep giving him the ball. They do like him, and again, he can be effective. It's just, you look at them both, and you're like, why is this guy getting more carries than that guy?
And you just have to figure out what that offense is going to be now that there's no Dak and no Dalton Schultz.
Well, it's probably going to be worse than it was before, so it's probably going to still be bad.
Although I was actually impressed with Dallas. I think, again, they beat Cincinnati. Cooper Rush looked competent. I mean, he was fine. He was not the issue. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit more. He's going to kind of take some checkdowns and do some of that stuff. But, I was actually impressed with what he did in his first start beating Cincinnati.
Moving on to tight ends. Mark Andrews, 9 for 11, 104 yards, 1 TD, and 1 rush. For 3 yards.
This is what you're expecting when you drafted him.
Yeah. Again, one of the guys that was like weak in week 1.
Yeah.
He's
definitely the number 1 tight end because all the other tight ends kind of suck. But the next best 2 are Darren Waller, 6 for 8 for 50 yards and a touchdown, and Mike Gesicki, 4 for 4 for 41 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, you're talking about 40, 50 yards. That touchdown saves them. But other than that, I mean, tight end's a rough position right now.
I feel like it's rough every single year. There's like 2 or 3 guys that you feel great about, and then the rest you're just like hoping they score a touchdown because, again, they're in that 40 to 50 yard range, and a touchdown kind of makes or breaks their week. Gesicki, again, I wouldn't count on it. 2 threw for like almost 500 yards, so they had to go somewhere, and he only got 41 of 469. Like, that's actually not that much, right?
And we'll talk about Kyle Pitts a little bit later, but I mean, he's been a disaster so far. Kickers, yes, we talk about kickers here. We know that you want to know what the best kicker is. Kickers can win your game, your league, or they could not. Graham Gano, New York Giants, 17 fantasy points. Good for him. Evan McPherson, Cincinnati, 13 fantasy points. Is there a pattern here? Daniel Carlson, 13 fantasy points. All these teams are kind of sucked, right?
Giants won again. I think
the Giants were okay.
Goals for sure, but the other 2 teams
also
disappointing losses.
Also, McPherson and Carlson, they were among the top kickers last year, and you expect them to be right there again because
they're solid, big legs, good offense.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised by this at all.
Defense, Tampa Bay, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 touchdown, and a 4th down stop for 27 fantasy points.
I feel like maybe Tom Brady is entering his like Peyton Manning at the end of his career era, where like a lot of the wins are going to come via the defense. Like he's good enough to kind of get it done, but he's not. He's on the way down.
He's not off the cliff, but he's like hanging from a rope.
I wouldn't say it's a cliff. I think it's just like a downhill, and he's slowly rolling down the hill.
I think for Tampa Bay, what they were doing against, they played New Orleans and Jameis Winston. They were just doing what they did a couple years ago when Winston was their own quarterback. So in practice, I'm sure they picked him off 3 times at least every day. Right? So
and I think when at the end of the game, one of his teammates said that. He said in some interview, they're like, oh, what were you doing? And they're like, oh, well, we just knew, James Winston, that's what he did. So we knew he was going to turn over the ball for us. And he called him out on it, which is funny because he was like his teammate in the past.
And he also played with like 4 broken ribs, I think, or something. He's injured as well.
He had in his back or something. Yeah.
Around the back.
Jacksonville, 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 4th down stops, 23 points.
Well, the Colts are just amazing. They're just amazing this year. So
they're not doing too well.
They're making everybody else look good.
And of course, Buffalo, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. They're great.
Yeah, they were awesome. They shut down Derrick Henry. They shut down the entire Tennessee offense.
Yeah, Derrick Henry had
Concentrate.
nowhere to go every time he got the ball. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that's to be expected without the weapons on offense besides him.
You blew it!
Fantasy Faceplants. Quarterback Matt Ryan, 16 for 30, 195 yards, 3 interceptions, 5 sacks, and a whopping -4 fantasy
I
points.
really want to defend him, but I'm not going to.
I was going to say, we're doing this now. We're not going to wait till
We gotta wait, we
balls
gotta
to the
wait.
wall.
Well,
Although-
no. We'll
wait,
get there.
wait.
But yeah, I mean, he was the worst.
He
quarterback.
is the worst, but also like he was missing his main 2 receivers. Not that that's an excuse.
He
you
was.
know?
They still have the best running back in the
Yeah, that's
league.
what
They
I'm
were
saying,
still playing
yeah.
the Jaguars.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why it's like
they
I'm not
still
going to defend
didn't
him.
score 1 point.
Yeah, that's terrible. Let's just move on.
Ryan Tannehill, 117 yards, 2 interceptions, 7 sacks.
Yeah, that's that Bills defense, just dominating, making you be one-dimensional and taking away your best player.
And Jameis Winston, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 6 sacks.
We already talked about it. It's
Yep,
just
we talked
Jameis
about it
Winston.
already. That's Jameis. He's going to throw the ball, like you said. It may be to the other team, but he's going to throw the ball.
Absolutely.
Wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy had 1 catch for 11 yards. Of course, he did leave the game early, so we'll give him that. Juju, 3 catches for 10 yards, 1 point.
Yeah, that was a little surprising, I
Yeah.
think, after a good week 1. But, yeah, Kansas City came out and kind of spread the ball around to some other guys. But I think you're definitely expecting more from Juju.
I think that it's going to be another one of those cases because Kansas City has so many weapons. It's just going to be like he's going to have his peak weeks and he's going to have his trash weeks. And, you know, you got to just go through the highs and the lows, and hopefully you play him on the highs.
And Mahomes said that. He said, I apologize to fantasy owners in advance because the ball's going to be passed around. These next 2 are definitely some fantasy face plans. Justin Jefferson, 6 catches, 48 yards, and Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 54 yards.
Yeah, I think, again, these aren't terrible numbers, but they are when your names are Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah.
You're definitely expecting double digits from those guys. Jefferson, still caught 6 balls, 48 yards. He could have had a touchdown. There's a play where he ran behind the DB instead of in front. So, I mean, all of a sudden he gets a touchdown there, and now you're looking at a much different scenario. Chase, it was just that offense was frustrating. They couldn't get anything going against Dallas. Again, if you have those guys, it's not like you're going to put them on your bench. You're still starting them week in and week out. You're just certainly expecting more.
I will say Darius Slay on Jefferson did a pretty good job covering him. He almost had 4 picks in the game or something crazy.
Absolutely.
Running back, Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker, I put them together because one of them had 6 for 15 yards and the other one had 4 for 10 yards. Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's tough. I mean, you want no part of that offense.
Dalvin Cook, 6 for 17 and 19 yards through the air.
Yeah, that's bad.
Again, the Eagles just kind of shut them out.
Yeah, I think that game just got away from Minnesota early. They had to go off game script. They want to run the ball. They want to air it out as well, but you don't want to be forced to air it out because you're down 3 scores early. So I would look for better days ahead from Dalvin Cook.
And
I think Minnesota probably came off like that. They were still, or not came off, but after that week 1 high where they did so well, they were like coming
Trout's
in.
Green Bay, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, oh man, they're feeling good and feeling kind of cocky, and then they got pounced on. So.
And then I put him on here. Zeke, 5 points, 53 yards on 15 carries. Again, not what you expect from Zeke, but not a horrible performance, I guess.
Not a horrible performance?
No, bad, but not horrible. Horrible would be -4 points by Matt Ryan.
I don't know, man. I don't know. This is pretty horrible for Zeke.
Tight ends, Kyle Pitts, we talked about earlier,
I see,
2
we're moving on.
catches. 2 catches for 19 yards. He had 1 fantasy point. Now, here's a question for you. What do you think his stats were last week?
Oh no, I already know that. I think they were better this week than last week, right? Last week he had 2 catches for 10 yards, I think, or 3 catches for 10 yards.
So this week was 2 catches for 19 yards. Last week was 2 catches for 19 yards. He's consistent, if nothing else.
The problem with that I had with him coming into the season was that, he did all right last year, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to be one of the top guys. He's the best player on the team, whatever, But you're bringing in a different quarterback, things are going to be different. So even though he's good, you can't expect the same results as last year because of the changes, So I think I could see why people were really high on him, but I wanted to be cautious about that because I just don't, especially Mariota. I don't know what you're going to get from him. So
Right, but I still think when you're a weapon as good as Kyle Pitts, like if you're that coach, you just got a game plan to get him the ball. Like you don't have. I mean, you have Drake London, who's been really good also, but like you don't have weapons. Like what are you doing not throwing the ball more to Kyle Pitts?
And then Travis Kelce, 5 for 51 yards, which
he'll be fine. It's just
just a down game.
too many cooks.
All right, let's talk about some waiver pickups here. Quarterback. Tell me if you think we should be picking up these guys. Remember, we're in our main league is an 8-man league, but I know a lot of people play in 10, 12, even 14 sometimes. So, I mean, especially if you had Trey Lance, Jimmy G, that's going to be a big pickup this week, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like, again, he's kind of a solid guy. You know what you're getting. Not going to have a huge ceiling, but his floor is going to be pretty high, too. So.
I don't know how available he actually is. Like, I feel like if people take backup quarterbacks or a 2-quarterback league or something, well, maybe not 2-quarterback because he wasn't starting, but I feel like
I think
backups,
he's widely available.
You think so?
Who was rostering him if he's not even a
Maybe
starter?
Trey
There's
Lance owners?
32 starters, maybe.
He's rostered in 6% of Yahoo leagues.
Okay. Well, then
he's
that's
gotta be
probably,
available. Like, again, if you have a 16-team league and it's a 2-quarterback league, sure, because all 32 are accounted for, and then you go there, but no one else should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a super flex, and I don't even think he's rostered in that, but he will. I'm sure he will be after waivers go through.
I'm in a super flex too, and the only team that owned him, had Trey Lance and is like diehard Niners fan. That's that's the only place I think he's owned.
Carson Wentz, if he's still available.
Negative. I'm good.
Same.
I mean,
he's been fine. He's like a top 5 quarterback right now. There's no denying that. But again, I'm going to put that against the schedule, and we'll see how he does this week against Philadelphia.
Marcus Mariota.
We just talked about him. So again,
no,
not for me.
All right.
Maybe. Again, 2-quarterback leagues, something deeper. You're going to get some rushing stats with him. He's got some weapons. If they just would throw Kyle Pitts the ball more, I'd like him a little bit better. But, again, I think deeper leagues, I think he's okay. They're playing Seattle this week, too, so kind of an intriguing matchup there.
I mean, I feel like if you have someone on your bench that you don't really care to have there, or if you had Trey Lance and he was your second quarterback on your bench or something, pick up Wentz, pick up Mariota. I mean, especially if you're doing well, because you never know what's going to happen. If they are consistent, at least you got them early, because someone's going to pick him up if he has another great game, either one of those guys. Jared Goff, Detroit. Detroit has scored 71 points so far in 2 games, and they have scored in every single quarter so far.
Yeah, like we were saying, they're much improved this year.
So, he's a guy that I probably like the most on this list. Their offense has been really good. 35 points in week 1, 36 points in week 2. They've been consistent. The offensive line is really good. They have good weapons. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown. DeAndre Swift has been really good. They have Hawkinson. They have some DJ Shark. I like him a lot, and I think that offense is certainly sustainable. We showed it week in and week out, and I think that continues as they move forward. Next couple matchups, Minnesota, who got just demolished by Philly last night, then Seattle, then New England. So that's some decent offenses coming up that bad defenses coming up, that he can take advantage of.
Running back, Raheem Mostert, Miami. He seems to be the starter. I don't know. Who knows who the starter is, but he was the main guy this week.
So, he was the main guy this week, and this is a game that they were trailing big to Baltimore. Obviously, we know Tua came back and led them, but they were down huge in the fourth quarter, right? They outscored Baltimore 28-3 to win in the fourth quarter. So that's a game script that you'd expect Chase Edmonds, who's been the pass-catching back, to play, and Mostert, out-carried him. Mostert had more receptions than him. So, I think we saw a little bit of a change in the guard of who's the best running back in Miami to have. But, again, I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. They have other weapons. I don't know how I don't see Mostert as like a running back too. Maybe a flex option at best.
Eno Benjamin and Darrell Williams from Arizona. If James Conner can't go, who are you picking up? Either of those guys? Who do you like better?
So when he came out, they literally split the work 50-50. I think they each had like 10 touches. I would say Williams because he got the goal line carry.
Yeah, I agree. I think Williams is the better bet, but who knows? And he may even play. Tyler Algier.
Algier.
Thank you very much.
LA.
From Atlanta.
Yeah. He's kind of intriguing. Again, they have Cordero Patterson there. I don't know that he's a 17-week kind of 300 carry back. He's kind of a gadget guy. So Algiers played tough. He's good. He's kind of a 3-down back, so I'd expect him to get more carries as the season goes along. Again, Atlanta's not going to win very many games. They're going to turn to some young guys to kind of see what they can do, and he's a rookie that has some promise.
Yeah, I think he's a flyer right now, but he could be more valuable later on in the season. Mark Ingram, New Orleans.
I thought about him last week, and I was like, I don't know that he's going to do that much. Like, yeah, Kamara's out or whatever, but it's Jameis Winston. You know, he's not going to check it down. They'll have their designed running plays, but he's just gonna toss the ball. So I don't know how much value there is there. Again, maybe if you're in a pinch, bye week or something, and if he's still playing, like Kamara might be back. Who knows? So there's not really much there, I don't think.
Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, New York Jets, had a pretty decent game there, and he's a rookie that came out pretty hot this season so far.
Yeah, he had a monster game. I think he had a couple touchdowns, over 100 yards, led the team with 14 targets, which was impressive. So, I think as the season goes along, you see rookies make a bigger and bigger impact as they kind of understand the playbook, they understand how the flow of the game works. So I think he's going to be a guy that continues to get better. My only question with him is, again, if we talked about this earlier, if Flacco isn't the quarterback anymore, does he have that same rapport with Zach Wilson?
And just the team in general, like they're going to face the tough defenses, and how's that going to go? Probably not well.
Nelson Aguilar.
This guy actually, you know what, is not terrible, because at the beginning of the season, I was like kind of heavy on Parker, because I'm like, oh, Parker came over from Miami, he's going to be like the guy there, you know. But actually, Nelson Aguilar, and Aguilar's always been the guy who's like, oh, Aguilar, he'll be good. You pick him, and then he doesn't do anything. And then he did all right. His best season was with the Raiders. He did all right. He didn't have a monster season, but it was like definitely better than he had been. And ever since then, it's kind of like he's kind of on that level. He never really got any higher than that. Like that was his best season still. But he's getting a lot of looks. Mac Jones isn't looking great, but when he does complete the pass, it's going to Aguilar. So there's a little bit of value there.
Sterling Shepard, New York Giants. So the Giants, I don't know what's going on over there. Kadarius Toney had like 2 catches or something, or not even 2 catches, 2 looks. I don't know. I heard he cleaned out his locker after
Kadarius
the game.
Toney?
Yeah,
it's like always something different every week with him.
but Sterling Shepard seems to be the guy there right now.
Yeah, so the Giants, we don't know what's going on with them, but what's going on is they're 2-0. They're winning games, and they're doing it in a weird way. So Saquon kind of got shut down this week, but yeah, Sterling Shepard led the team with 10 targets. 6 catches, only 34 yards. But again, I think they need somebody to be the number one guy, and it's why not him? It doesn't sound like Tony's going to play a lot. I don't know what's up with Kenny Golladay. That guy was a big bust since he came over and signed a big contract. So, yeah, I guess Shepard's the number one offense on a Daniel Jones quarterback team, so however that makes you feel.
Yeah, I wouldn't – I want to stay away from the Giants at all costs right now, but who knows. Michael Gallup, Dallas, again – we're not sure what Dallas is going to be.
Or when he's coming back. Have they actually said he's back?
That's something
So they did say he might play week 3, but they're going to kind of slow roll him in, so he's not going to have a full complement of snaps. But I think he's actually an intriguing one. I think when Dak gets back, when Michael Gallup gets to full health, so maybe you're planning 4 weeks or so down the line when bye weeks start, things like that. I think he's intriguing. We've seen him produce certainly when he's been on the field in the past. They obviously have CD Lamb, but they do need another option. So I think he's kind of an intriguing stash to play down the road once bye weeks start.
And if you don't want to wait, Noah Brown right now from Dallas.
Exactly. He's been like the number one receiver. He's getting more targets than CD Lamb. He's catching more balls. I think a lot of that has to do, too, he's kind of been a backup, been on the practice squad with Cooper Rush. So they kind of already have that built-in relationship from taking a lot of snaps together. So, I think he's the guy right now. But I think, again, Gallup's coming back soon to take that spot.
And Greg Dortch from Arizona.
Yeah, he's been kind of a surprise. He's caught a ton of balls. I think he's taken the role of what's his name? Rondale Moore. I almost said Raheem Mostert. Yeah, Rondale Moore, since he's been out the first couple of weeks. But yeah, he's caught a bunch of balls and kind of been their slot go-to guy. Again, 4 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown this week. I think he had a pretty decent week last week as well. So again, kind of a short-term guy until Moore comes back, and then obviously you have DeAndre Hopkins coming back also.
Yeah, just 4 more weeks.
Tight ends, Logan Thomas, Washington, Evan Ingram, Jacksonville. It's tough out there, but those are maybe 2 options you can look to.
Yeah, I think you're just looking for a guy that can score a touchdown.
Yeah, look for the upside.
I mean, we gotta keep an eye on Carson Wentz, So
yeah, I mean, if he's still passing like that, Logan could be a recipient.
I think I like Evan Ingram more
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he's got a better
I
quarterback.
like Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been okay. I mean, that team. I don't
That's
think
another
it's gonna
team
do
that's
lot,
been a little
but
bit improved.
Yeah.
I feel like the Lions are much improved. This team is a little improved, but still, they're still better than they were. They already won a game, so.
Defense, Dallas and Kansas City are those two ones that are on your radar this week?
They should be. Dallas has been really good. They're at New York this week on Monday night. They just get a lot of turnovers. Micah Parsons has been a monster pass rusher. They have Trayvon Diggs, who had like 7 pick sixes last year. So they're prone to create a lot of turnovers. So I think they're certainly intriguing. And then Kansas City that you mentioned, they this week get to host Indianapolis and that vaunted offense. So, I think they're definitely on the radar. Anyone playing against Matt Ryan these days could be a pretty good play.
All right, let's go into some week 3 matchups. And let's go over the score for us here. So before the games we picked last week, I was 3-0. Eliseo was 3-0, and Brandon 0-3.
But I'm back.
But he's back. All right. What games did we have? We had Kansas City
And the
versus
Chargers.
the Chargers.
Thursday
3.5 points. Kansas City favorite. And I picked Kansas City. Brandon, you picked the Chargers.
I did.
Eliseo, Kansas City.
And I got lucky. I will admit, I got that late comeback from Herbert, and he got that little backdoor touchdown. They covered by 3. But they were dominating that game early, and then Herbert threw that pick 6 that kind of changed things. But I think the Chargers were the better team throughout the game.
Tampa Bay, -3 at New Orleans. Tampa Bay scored 20. New Orleans scored 10. And I picked New Orleans because I wanted to be different. And you both picked Tampa Bay and got
Idiot.
the point. Las Vegas versus Arizona. Las Vegas was favored by 4.5.
And they had
were
them by
up.
20.
They were up by
23.
way more than
Was it 23-0 or 20-0?
it was 20-0 at one point.
It was 20,
It may
beginning
have
of
been
the third
23.
quarter.
I don't know. It was a lot.
I think it was 23-0 before it all went.
I know it was at least 20-0. And then Arizona won 29-23.
By the way, that play for the 2-point conversion to tie the game, ridiculous.
He
Tyler
it was
ran
like-
85 yards, and the play was like 21 seconds long.
Yeah, they just couldn't catch him, and the linemen were like after him, but they just couldn't catch him.
My neighbors probably thought so. I was like, get him!
Here's the thing. I think I'm most impressed. You'd say, oh, what an amazing play by Kyler. I'm more impressed that Dallas covered receivers for 21 seconds, and he had to run it in. Like he couldn't find anybody open for that long. So great job by the defense.
Raiders?
Yeah.
That was incredible. That's one of those things where it's like, I
Anyway, I picked
talk about it, man. It
Vegas.
was terrible.
You picked Vegas. Brandon
Yep,
picked
that's
Arizona.
right. That's 3 in a row.
And then finally we had Philly favored by 2 versus Minnesota. Philly won 24-7, and we all picked Minnesota. So
Yeah, this is a game I think we talked about both of these teams kind of on the rise as a statement game for both. And obviously we're more impressed with Philly, but I don't think Minnesota's a bad team. I think they bounce back sooner rather than later.
new score. Eliseo, you are 4-3.
I'm in first place.
I'm 3-4. And Brandon's 3-4. Come back.
I've made up. I was down
He
3
was
games last week. I'm one
he was the
game
Cardinals of the week.
back. Yeah, scrambling around, making things happen.
Well, let's change that up, all right? Let's talk about some of this week's games. The Thursday game, Steelers, who are 1-1, at the Browns, who are 1-1, and the line is the Browns by 5 points. We're not going to bet on this game. We're just talking about it a little bit. So both 1-1. I don't know. I don't really have anything much to say about either of these teams. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs more than likely. They're just kind of I mean, Pittsburgh's in a rebuild phase, right?
Kind of. So I actually think this game is kind of intriguing for a couple of reasons. One, the Browns should be 2-0. They obviously blew that game against the Jets last week. I think they're just trying to hang on till when Deshaun Watson comes back because he's a complete game changer for them.
Yeah.
He makes that offense just so legitimate because they're actually really well built around him. So I think it's a big game for them. Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh is trying to figure out what to do at the quarterback spot. Trubisky's been terrible, so I think this might be a game where if he comes out and doesn't do much, I think we might see the rookie Kenny Pickett.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, like how long is this leash? You know, like this week he's fine because they already said no, he's our guy. But if he has another terrible outing, it's like, oh, is that could that be the end of the line,
I don't
or
know.
could there be like well, now we're thinking about it? I don't know. The other thing about you were talking about Deshaun Watson coming back. How long has he been out? Also, is this year 2 that he hasn't played?
Yeah, so he's kind of following the Trey Lance lead.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm saying. It's like everybody could expect all this stuff from him, and then he comes back and he just totally,
Yeah, but we know his muscles are going to be very relaxed. He got a lot of massages in the off season, so I think he's going to be ready to go.
be ready to go. Nice long vacation.
Bills 2-0 at Dolphins 2-0. Bills are favored by 4. We will pick this team. This is going to be a good game, I think. Again, it's a test for the Dolphins. The Bills are obviously an amazing team, and they should win this. But the Dolphins have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, this is a fun one. I think, again, this is kind of a game where you see, are the Dolphins for real? And they're at home, and teams struggle when they play in Miami. There's weird heat. It's humid. It's a hard place to play. In the past, the Brady Patriots always struggle going down there. But I think this is the Bills are a different beast. They have looked unbelievable, and I wouldn't take any team against them until they prove me wrong. So I'm going to go with the Bills -4.
I agree with that. I think that it's a big test for Miami. And also, even if it is a close game, the Bills have like the experience, you could say, versus like the Miami, who's kind of like trying to figure out, are we this good? Which who knows? They could be, they could not. But if it comes down to it, I think just the poise of like Josh Allen is going to like just push the team through because of the experience, because he's been there, because he's been in those tough games. And I think they're not going to, like you said, it's a different animal. There's no way Miami can handle this.
I'd love to go against you guys, but I agree. The Bills are going to take this by the points also. So we're all going to be in agreement on that one. Moving on to, this is the matchup of the century, guys. The 0-2 Raiders at the 0-2 Titans, and the Raiders are favored by 1 point. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Raiders. This is a huge game for them. They had a chance to beat the Chargers and at the end of the game in the first week, and then I think that was like I want to say kind of like a moral victory for them. It's like, oh, okay, we're good enough to keep up with the team that everybody is like, drooling all over. We made a point that we can still beat these guys. And then last week they were celebrating early basically, and they just stopped playing, and then they lost. That was a totally blown. Like they should have won. So they should be at least 1-1, but they could have been 2-0. So it's a big game for them. Like it's like win or bust. Like there's no losing right now. This is a big game for them. It's a must-have, and so I think they're gonna come out and they know that, and they're gonna also like we were talking about earlier. Like Tennessee has basically a one play, right now, and
Derrick Henry is their play.
Yeah, and so yeah.
The Raiders consistently do this. They are up and they just blow it. And I think it is a mental thing. It's like, and I think it's also a coaching thing. And I think everyone's going to learn from this because they're a good team, at least a good offense. And I think they have the ability to win a lot of games. And I think that they're going to get their stuff together, and the Raiders are going to win. I'm not going to say by how much. I mean, if it was maybe -5, maybe I'd pick the Titans because, I think that it could still be a close game, but I think the Raiders are going to pull this one out.
I hate to do it. I'm going to be in agreement there. Just what I've seen from the Titans, I haven't been impressed. They lost to the Giants in week 1. They got smashed by the Bills last night. Again, that's the best team in the league, but still they lost by 34 points, which is saying something. And Eliseo, I think your point is important that this is a must-win game for the Raiders. Their next 2 games after the Titans, they play at home against the Broncos
and then
at the
City,
Chiefs.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 big division games. No, those are toss-ups. There's no gimmies there. So you lose this, you could potentially lose the next 2. You're 0-5, and all of a sudden your season's over. So I think they come out, and I think they win big.
Packers 1-1 at the Bucks 2-0. The Bucks are favored by 2.5 points, but they will be without Mike Evans and possibly Godwin.
I think I think the offense will be okay even without them. They're not going to be the best, but they'll be okay. They can march along and get a score, maybe 2. But really, the defense is going to be the important thing here. It's like, can the defense stop Aaron Rodgers? And by that, it's like, can they stop Aaron Jones? That's really what it comes down to. They got to watch the run game because the receivers have yet to prove that they can do anything. So they're going to focus on stopping the run game, which Tampa Bay is really good at. They're one of the top run defenses. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. What's the spread anyways? I didn't even...
2.5.
Oh, yeah.
Bucks by 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think the Bucks are a good team. I think the Packers are a good team. I think this one could really go either way. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick the Packers.
Hell yeah.
And they're pretty much going to have to win because that's a short spread right there. But I think, you know, Tampa Bay, their defense is what's going to win it if they win it. But I think that Aaron Rodgers...
When they win it?
I said if they win it.
I know. I'm telling you when.
I think Aaron Rodgers and company can get it done against his fellow old man there. So I'm going to go with the Packers.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be the deciding vote here. I also like the Packers. I think that Tampa, they've been really good defensively. But again, that was against Dallas, who they made look really bad, against New Orleans and Jameis Winston, who wasn't great. Rodgers is different, right? And obviously he struggled in week 1, and we talked about this before. They struggled last year in week 1 too, and he kind of figured things out. I think this is kind of a statement game for him. I think he comes out, outduels Tampa Bay, who just has not been impressive offensively. And you're waiting for them to put it together. I don't think it's this week. Green Bay is pretty good defensively too. So I'm going to take the Packers and the points.
All right, a bigger lead for me.
One more. We're going to go to Monday night here. Cowboys 1-1 at the Giants 2-0.
Man.
Giants by 2.5 points.
This is what we're picking?
I know. I'd rather do the Sunday night game.
All right, we'll do the Sunday. Let's talk about this one. We'll do the Sunday night one. We'll pick it. But Cowboys 1-1, Giants 2-0. I mean, it's...
Pick it for fun. Pick it for fun, I guess.
It's actually an interesting one, right? I think the Giants 2-0 is surprising. The Cowboys at 1-1 were kind of picked to win the division. Philly's obviously 2-0, kind of taking over that division. But I liked what I saw from Dallas this last week against Cincinnati. Their defense is going to be there. Their defense shows up every game. They don't turn the ball over offensively. I think they can definitely hang in there. If we were picking this game, I think I'd take Dallas plus the 2.5 points because I think they win outright.
Yeah, I would take Dallas also. I'm not happy about it, but I would do it.
I think...
We know you'd take Dallas, Jesse.
No, I have to go back and check, but I think Dallas was the number 1 defense last year, point-wise, in fantasy. I
think they were because they had a lot of touchdowns.
I would pick Dallas with this one, too. Not just because I picked Dallas for everything, but I actually think that they can beat the Giants here. All right, and this is the one we will pick for this week. So Sunday night... 49ers 1-1 and Broncos 1-1, but I just have a feeling we're all going to pick the same team here. That's why I guess we all would have picked the same team in the last one, Dallas.
I haven't decided. So I think this game is really intriguing, right? We're getting the first start by Jimmy G this season. 49ers obviously a good team. They have big aspirations, and we haven't quite yet see the Broncos put it together, right? And is that a Russell Wilson issue? Is that a head coach play calling issue? They've really, really struggled. So now we get Sunday night, primetime game. Russ usually plays well in these games. So I'm very intrigued to kind of see what happens. I'm going to hold on to my pick, and I'm going to defer to you guys on this one.
I'll take it. I'll go. And I wasn't sure about this one either. I think it could go either way on this one also because the 49ers with Jimmy G, I think, have potential to do a lot. But they could also, have those growing pains and kind of getting into the flow of things may have a little hiccup. And the Broncos should be starting to hit some kind of stride, and get.
They're not riding yet. They're not riding yet.
They're not, and that's why I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to go with Denver because I'm going to go with the 49ers because I don't know what you're talking about. Growing pains with Jimmy G. It was growing pains with Trey Lance. Jimmy G's going to step right in and be like, "Oh, this is what we did last year. Let's do it again." So I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going with the 49ers because Bronco Country. They stalled out. They're not going anywhere. And until they prove that they can, which I'm sure eventually they will, but I don't think this is the week.
I do think it's the week. I'm going to take Denver +1 at home. Honestly, I was going to take them to begin with. I'm not just doing it against you guys. I just think Denver has to put it together sooner or later, and I think this is the week in a big national primetime game. So I'm going to take Denver at home plus the 1 point.
There you have it. We'll see where we are at the end of next week. Balls to the wall time.
I like that the music is back.
The music is back. Woo!
Yeah, we're going to have better picks now because of it.
All right, let's talk about last week. Brandon, you had Gerald Everett for 6 catches, 110 yards, and 1 touchdown. He had 6 catches for 71 yards.
And he should have had the touchdown. I don't know if you guys saw that interception.
Yes.
That ball was to him. He kind of he tried to come out of the play beforehand because he was tired. And then he kind of ran the wrong route, but the ball was coming for him. He could have had that touchdown. That was a game changer. So yeah, I wasn't spot on, but as you hear the next 2, I was actually the best and the closest.
I had Julio Jones. I said he was going to do 118 yards and 2 TDs, which is what he would have done
if he hadn't stayed home.
Except he didn't play. He did not suit up because of his knee. And I will say he's not my balls to the wall this week, but he is going to have a great game. So, Eliseo, Matt Ryan was yours. 300 yards and 3 touchdowns was what you said. He did do 195 yards, 3 interceptions, 5 sacks, and he had -4 fantasy points, and my guy didn't play, so I guess I won against you.
I mean, not really. I mean, if you call any of these,
he didn't
if
have
any of this
negative
is
points.
winning, listen, fool me once, fool me twice.
Is what Matt Ryan did to you twice.
What's going to happen when you fool us 3 times and you
Well,
pick him again
I don't
this
think
week?
he's going to get the chance, man. I've learned my lesson. What a disappointing outing for the Colts in general. It's like Matt, it's just bad. Like I really thought he was going to be better than Carson Wentz, and so far,
And boy,
no.
were you a fool.
Yo, I wear the crown.
All right, let's pick our balls to the wall for week 3. I'll kick it off with Jimmy G. He's coming on in hot with 225 yards. I know it's not a lot, 2 touchdowns, but he's going to also run for 40 yards and have another touchdown. 49ers are going to win, just like I said, versus Denver.
Is that why you? Yeah, that's why you picked, because you had already picked.
No,
him
I would have picked against it just to piss you off, but
You should have. Take it back right now. I'll let you do it.
Go ahead. What's yours?
I'm
real quick. Hold on. I want to touch a little bit on that. Balls to the wall, and he's going for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. I get the rushing touchdown, but this is just balls barely tripping down your leg. They're not to the wall. They're just hanging there.
They're not doing a whole lot right now.
Yeah,
they're not. They're not getting any action.
Okay.
Hey, you're talking about
Also, last
40
week,
rush yards is balls to
that's
the
like
wall.
30. That's like 32 fantasy points or something. So that's
hey, but last week when I said 250 yards, you guys were like, "What? What are you doing?"
Because he did 350 the week before. I mean, that's you can't downgrade your balls to the wall. But Jimmy G is coming off the bench.
So
I think that's
just
pretty
shoot lower. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so mine is gonna be. I hate when Jesse talks in front of me. Deebo Samuel.
Oh, this will be a
That's
good
why I was
one.
like,
This will be fun.
I think that with Jimmy G back, it's going to go back to more like this is what we're doing again. Because now it's like we don't have Trey Lance, the runner. Now it's back to what they were doing last year, when Deebo was getting all that action, which is going to be really good for the team, I think. They're in a better spot, I think, like you were talking about earlier. So Deebo Samuel, I think he's going to get, let's go with 125 total yards, combined, and I'll say 2 touchdowns.
Off the top of your head, just boom, just let it flow in.
Yeah.
Let that psychic power take over.
Okay.
Brandon.
Well, you guys are so balls to the wall. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson, 1 catch for 7 yards. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with a different wide receiver in Houston, not named Brandon Cooks. I'm going to take wide receiver Nico Collins to go 7 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
All right, there you have it. Our balls to the wall. Tune in, see what happens. That's all we got for you this week. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Fools podcast. We'll be back next week. Until then, don't be a fool.
Stay in school. Jesse, man, always cop in, man. Do your own thing, man.